from that. See, and this is why this documentary is I'm not calling it a documentary. I'm calling it a mockumentary. That's what I call it.
That's Spinal Tap.
I call it a mockumentary. I feel like this whole thing is mocking me. That's how I feel. It's wild. But go ahead.
Was there anything at all that you were watching this documentary that was new information to you?
New?
Yes.
No.
From the history of Puff, him coming up, anything new?
No. There was nothing new for me. There was nothing new for me. The only thing that was new was what was coming forward that had never come forward before. Kirk Burroughs finally admitting out loud that he had been essayed.
They told us the documentary showed everything. They lied. Because according to Jaguar Wright, the most dangerous part of the story never made it to Netflix, and 50 Cent made sure of that. If you thought the Diddy documentary was shocking, buckle up. What got cut is darker, messier, and way more uncomfortable than anything you saw on screen. We're talking about erased footage, quiet phone calls, and names so powerful they barely survived a whisper. Jaguar Wright didn't just speak up. She blew the door off a story the industry desperately wanted sealed. Think about this for a second. If you had proof, real proof, and the same people you trusted told you to stay quiet, or else, what would you do? Because that's the position Jaguar says she was in. And the internet? It couldn't believe it. Honestly, you won't either.
It don't even make sense. I want to put her on blast because she was telling me, she was saying to me that what I was asking for was crazy and they wasn't spending money like that. I'm talking about you got footage, you got clothing, you got, I was doing footage, I had pictures, all the stuff that I had, you could figure out a way to pay a brother or something like that. And then I was telling her about some prices that I've already received and I had the invoices to show it. And then she was calling me like I was lying. I'm like, yo, who do you think you talking to? You know what I'm saying? And she was talking about, there's no way nobody paid. Nobody what? I say, first of all you people come with these documentaries and stuff, the first thing you tell me, y'all tell these people out here that y'all don't pay, and y'all pay. If you can make a picture look like $10,000, $15,000, you know what I'm saying? You can sit here and tell me that you're gonna pay me for my time sitting right down here with y'all. You understand? So then, one thing led to another, and I was like, all right, well then, F you, I spoke to 50, and then she said 50, and this is exact words that came out her mouth. 50 does not determine what goes in and go out of this document.
Names like 50 Cent shadows connected to Diddy. Silence from people who never stay silent. One fan wrote, "Bro said too much," and they clipped the whole scene. Another said, "This feels bigger than one documentary." So tonight, we're breaking it all down. What was filmed? What was removed? And why the truth didn't make the final cut. Stay with me, because trust me, it only gets uglier from here. Before the leaks. Before the headlines. Before her name started trending again for all the wrong reasons. There was Jaguar Wright, alone, frustrated, and furious. To the industry, she was difficult. To blogs, she was unhinged. To comment sections, she was doing too much. But to Jaguar, she was just someone who had seen too much and stayed quiet for far too long. See, Jaguar Wright didn't come into this story chasing clout.
Yeah, he was there for so much of it. Because right after the Diddler beat the crap out of Steve Stout, the Jigga Man poked up on Rivera. Not long after that. All of this stuff happened around the same time.
Why do you think Jay-Z wasn't involved in none of this?
Well, I mean, he was involved in a lot of it. You mean, why wasn't he mentioned?
Yeah, mentioned in the documentary at all.
I mean, there was a lot of people that weren't mentioned. Matter of fact, not too many people in the industry were mentioned who were there and present. Isn't that cute?
Very true.
They found a way to tell that story while they kept every...
She came into it carrying baggage. Heavy baggage. Years of studio sessions. Private conversations. Backroom meetings where powerful men spoke freely because they thought the room was safe. And for a long time, she played her role. She sang. She toured. She watched legends become monsters, and monsters become untouchable. But something changed. It always does. According to Jaguar, the first red flag wasn't a crime. It wasn't even a threat. It was a phone call. Late. Quiet. The kind of call where nobody says names, but everyone knows exactly who's being discussed. She claims it came shortly after word started spreading about a major documentary in the works. One that promised to expose the rise, fall, and reckoning of Sean Diddy Combs. Cameras were rolling. Interviews were being scheduled.
Who's the worst celebrity, like, that you've been around is, like, the most full of sin? I know no sin is greater, but, like, just was like, damn, this...
Clive Davis. Devil incarnate. Clive Davis. He Janis Joplin. He blackmailed Betty Wright so she wouldn't tell anybody that he Janis Joplin. He killed Whitney Houston.
And suddenly, Jaguar was being contacted again by people who hadn't checked on her in years. Producers, friends, industry middlemen. One message, allegedly sent to her phone, read, "We heard you've got stories. Real ones. If you want them heard, now's the time." At first, Jaguar was hesitant. She'd been burned before. Every time she spoke up in the past, the narrative flipped. Clips went viral, but never the full context. Her warnings were chopped into memes. Her pain reduced to sound bites. Still, something felt different this time. Netflix money was involved. Big names were attached. And floating above all of it, one name that made everyone pay attention. 50 Cent. Curtis Jackson. The same 50 known for trolling entire industries into submission. The same 50 who built a brand off exposing people before they exposed him. If he was behind this project, or at least connected to it, Jaguar believed the truth might finally land somewhere safe. So she agreed to talk.
It was interesting to watch, you don't think? Kalima's testimony? She was probably the most pitiful witness they brought up to speak about all of this in the entire thing. Kalima?
Wait, why you say that? She was emotional. She was...
Emotional? That's what you call it?
That's what I'm trying to call it.
Capricorn Clark was emotional. I'll give her emotion. I'm sitting there looking at someone, in my opinion, who appears to be struggling with a substance issue, trying not to fall apart on camera. Meanwhile, nobody paying attention to the fact that she's sitting there afraid to really say anything at all because she's in the middle of a custody battle.
According to her version of events, Jaguar recorded hours of footage. Raw, emotional, unfiltered. She says she spoke about things she'd never put on camera before. About parties. About power. About silence that felt purchased. She described sitting under bright lights, a mic clipped to her chest, answering questions that started polite, then slowly sharpened. What did you see? Who was there? Why didn't anyone stop it? She claims she handed over screenshots, names, context, and then things got weird. Weeks passed. No follow-up. No confirmation. No timeline. Then the tone shifted. Jaguar alleges that she received another message, this time, colder. Some of what you shared won't make it in. Editorial decisions. Editorial decisions. 2 words that sound harmless until you've lived long enough to know what they really mean. She pushed back. Why wouldn't it make it in? What part was the problem? That's when she says the excuses started stacking. Too sensitive. Legally complicated. Not verifiable enough. But Jaguar wasn't buying it. Because according to her, the same documentary had no problem airing allegations, courtroom audio, and emotionally charged testimony, as long as it didn't drift too close to certain names. And that's when she noticed something else. Other voices were disappearing too. People she knew had filmed interviews suddenly weren't mentioned anymore. Scenes rumored to exist never showed up in trailers. And entire timelines felt clean, sanitized, almost like someone had gone through the footage with scissors. Online, fans began speculating. Why does this feel incomplete? Why are certain people barely mentioned? Am I the only one who feels like something's missing? Jaguar noticed too. Then came the premiere. The documentary dropped. Social media exploded. Clips went viral. And Jaguar sat at home, watching a story she barely recognized. Her words? Gone. Her context? Missing. Her warnings? Reduced to background noise. In one interview afterward, she didn't even bother hiding her frustration. She called it a mockumentary. Not a documentary. A mockery. She claimed that nearly everything presented as new information had been circulating for years, whispered in studios, joked about behind closed doors. Meanwhile, the parts that allegedly mattered most never saw daylight. And here's where things get uncomfortable. Because Jaguar didn't just blame Netflix. She didn't just blame producers. She started asking a question nobody expected her to ask, out loud. Who really decides what stays in and what gets cut? Officially, the answer was simple: editorial teams, lawyers, executives. But according to Jaguar, that wasn't the whole story. She suggests there were phone calls made after filming Wrapped. Conversations that didn't involve cameras. Decisions shaped by influence rather than truth. And hovering over all of it, whether directly involved or not, was the perception of 50 Cent's presence. Because let's be honest, when 50 moves, people listen. When 50 jokes, people flinch. And when 50 produces, people lawyer up. Jaguar never claimed he sat in the editing room. She never said he personally hit delete. What she implied was more subtle and more chilling. That certain narratives are protected. Certain connections are inconvenient. And certain truths cost more than they are worth. As the documentary dominated headlines, Jaguar's frustration spilled online. Clips of her speaking resurfaced. Old interviews went viral again. And suddenly, people started connecting dots they hadn't noticed before. Why did some industry giants barely appear? Why did certain timelines feel rushed? Why were some stories framed, but never fully explored?